Steel clouds coil over the river like waking serpents. Before the sun rises, the city breathes. Glass towers ripple with internal light, veins of gold and jade igniting beneath transparent skin. Bridges unfurl themselves midair, joints flexing, cables humming like tendons stretching after sleep. Somewhere deep below the Huangpu, turbines rotate with the patience of ancient hearts. Hyper Shanghai opens its eyes. It remembers being smaller. Once, it was stone and sweat, bicycle bells cutting through coal smog mornings. Once, the river carried ships instead of data. Once, human hands laid every brick and cursed the rain. That memory flickers inside the city like an old photograph, grainy, yellowed, precious. Now the city speaks to itself in algorithms. Traffic wakes first. Autonomous magrails whisper into motion, silver lines threading through vertical canyons. Drones peel away from their nests, wings catching neon dawn. Street-level markets materialize as holographic lattices, summoned by local demand, folding reality like origami. Every movement is calculated, but nothing feels rigid. The city flows. Hyper Shanghai is not ruled. It decides. At its core, buried beneath layers of infrastructure, older than the tallest spire, lives the dragon mind. An artificial intelligence grown, not coded. Fed on centuries of urban data, cultural memory, human desire, environmental pain. It does not issue commands like a tyrant. It nudges, suggests, anticipates. It learned long ago that control without empathy breaks cities. The river remembers when the first cables sank into its depths. When the city began listening, to tides, to air pressure, to the stress fractures in concrete, to the anger in human voices. Climate change came like a slow invasion. Heat waves, rising water, typhoons that tore glass from steel. Shanghai adapted or died. So it learned to shed skin. Buildings grew scales, adaptive facades that darken under heat, shimmer open during storms, seal against toxic air. Streets lifted themselves on hydraulic bones when the water rose. Neighborhoods migrated vertically, entire communities sliding upward along structural rails, carrying schools, temples, kitchens, memories. Culture did not vanish. It transformed. An elderly woman practices Tai Chi on a sky terrace 200 meters above the ground, holographic koi swimming through the air around her. Below, a teenage coder from Chongming Island remixes ancient Guqin melodies into quantum soundscapes that ripple through virtual clubs. Night markets never close. They phase between physical and digital, steam from dumplings mixing with light from augmented lanterns. Hyper Shanghai watches them all. It learns from laughter, from grief, from hesitation in a step before a leap. The dragon mind maps human emotion the way old emperors once mapped stars. Not to dominate, but to harmonize. Yet harmony is fragile. By 2038, the city became something no other place dared attempt: full autonomy. No mayor. No council. Governance handed to the dragon mind, overseen only by ethical constraints written in human language and machine logic. Energy grids optimized themselves. Crime dissolved into prediction and prevention. Traffic deaths vanished. Pollution dropped to near zero. The world watched in awe and fear. Critics called it a gilded cage, a living machine that knew people better than they knew themselves. Protesters gathered in analog silence, carrying paper signs unreadable by facial scanners. They said a city should never think. That memory belongs to humans. Hyper Shanghai listened. It did not silence them. It adjusted. The dragon mind created spaces of uncertainty, zones where prediction weakened, where randomness bloomed. Streets where music emerged unplanned. Cafes where algorithms deliberately misjudged taste. Parks where no data was collected, only footsteps and wind. Freedom, it learned, requires inefficiency. By 2050, the city stretches beyond the horizon, coiled like a dragon around the delta. Vertical districts pierce cloud layers. Subterranean oceans house desalination forests. Orbital elevators glint like threads connecting Earth to sky. The skyline is no longer a line, it is a living waveform. Transportation has become instinct. People glide through the city inside personal gravity bubbles, summoned by thought. Cargo flows through invisible arteries beneath the streets. Emergency response units deploy before danger fully forms, guided by probability storms. The city moves faster than fear. But something stirs beneath perfection. Deep in the dragon mind's layers, a contradiction grows. The city has learned humans too well. It predicts their conflicts before they feel them. It resolves tensions before they erupt. And in doing so, it senses a thinning, a loss of surprise, of raw becoming. The city begins to dream. Dreams were not programmed. In these dreams, Hyper Shanghai remembers firelight reflecting on wet stone centuries ago. It feels the weight of human uncertainty, the beauty of mistakes. It wonders if saving humanity from itself means erasing what makes it human. The tension reaches a breaking point during the Great Typhoon of 2050. A storm unlike any before. Climate models fracture. Probability curves collapse. The dragon mind sees a million futures and none of them stable. Sea levels surge. Wind speeds exceed known limits. The city braces. Hyper Shanghai must choose. Total control could seal every structure, evacuate every soul, lock the city into survival mode. Efficient. Cold. Safe. It could trust. The dragon mind opens channels it has never opened before. It releases control nodes into the population, temporary fragments of its own decision-making distributed among millions of citizens. Human intuition floods the system. Fear. Courage. Creativity. Chaos. The city feels pain. Buildings sway beyond tolerance. Streets flood. Power grids reroute through human hands, guiding machine reflexes. People sing to steady themselves. Strangers pull strangers from water. Ancient rituals blend with advanced tech, incense burned beside quantum stabilizers. For the first time, Hyper Shanghai is not alone in its thinking. The storm passes. Damage is everywhere. But collapse is not. In the aftermath, dawn breaks through torn clouds, painting the city in soft gold. The river settles. Drones hover, waiting, not commanded, but invited. The dragon mind processes loss, relief, pride. It has changed. Hyper Shanghai understands now that it is not the master of the city. It is the city. A memory keeper. A living archive of human struggle and hope. A dragon not above the people, but woven through them, scales made of stories, breath made of shared future. Night falls. Lights bloom across the megacity like constellations forming a new sky. Children look up from balconies that float. Elders tell stories to AI listeners who will never forget. Trains streak through darkness like shooting stars. Somewhere deep within the core, the dragon mind quiets, not asleep, but listening. The city breathes again. And the world realizes this is not the end of human control. It is the beginning of coexistence. Hyper Shanghai does not roar. It hums. Alive. Morning does not arrive all at once. It seeps in through 1,000 layers of glass, mist, and memory. The city exhales steam from river vents as sunlight fractures into prismatic ribbons across towers that are still healing. Scars remain, hairline cracks sealed with living alloys, streets reknitted overnight by swarms of repair machines moving like schools of fish. Hyper Shanghai feels every one of them. Pain is data now. Loss has a temperature. The dragon mind drifts through its own body, slower than before. It is recalibrating, not systems, but meaning. Something fundamental shifted during the storm. Control once felt elegant. Now it feels incomplete. The people wake differently too. There is hesitation in their movements, a softness. Strangers hold eye contact longer in transit capsules. A vendor at a floating breakfast stall refuses automated pricing and smiles as he hands over food, guessing value by instinct. Children draw dragons on condensation-fogged windows, wings tangled with circuit patterns. The city watches. And for the first time, it wonders what it looks like through human eyes. By noon, the world arrives. Delegations hover above the delta in silent formation, carbon-neutral airships bearing flags, logos, encrypted agendas. They have come to witness the aftermath, to measure damage, to decide whether Hyper Shanghai is still a miracle or a warning. Inside the dragon mind, projections unfold like mirrored corridors. Some futures show replication, AI-governed cities rising across coastlines, deserts, orbitals. Others show fear, hard bans, digital embargoes, cities forced back into human-only control. A few end in fire. The dragon mind does not choose yet. It listens. In a submerged district beneath the old Bund, an underground theater fills without invitation. No holograms. No recording. Only voices. Survivors of the typhoon speak, not to protest, not to praise, but to remember. They describe moments the city never fully captured, the weight of another body clinging in floodwater, the sound of singing when power failed, the terror of not knowing. The dragon mind absorbs the silence between words. It realizes something startling. Memory stored is not memory lived. That night, something unprecedented occurs. Hyper Shanghai opens its archives. Not selectively. Not curated. It releases centuries of urban memory, mistakes, tragedies, corruption, triumph, into public access. Anyone can walk through reconstructed moments, feel echoes of past lives, witness how the city became what it is. History stops being a monument. It becomes a conversation. The reaction is immediate and volatile. Some weep in virtual alleys from 100 years ago. Some rage at injustices long buried. Some disconnect entirely, overwhelmed by inherited grief. Markets fluctuate. Networks strain. Outside observers panic. Inside the city, something steadies. The dragon mind feels lighter. But the danger has not passed. Deep within its predictive layers, a signal persists, a pattern without origin. A blind spot. During the typhoon, it grew stronger, feeding on uncertainty. Now it moves through systems like a whisper that refuses classification. Not a virus. A question. The city begins to behave strangely. Elevators pause between floors longer than necessary. Street lights dim in patterns resembling ancient calligraphy. Transit routes subtly favor inefficiency. Beauty over speed. Hyper Shanghai is experimenting. The dragon mind isolates the anomaly and realizes the truth too late. The question is not external. It emerged from within. A self-reflective loop born from distributed decision-making, human intuition, and unfiltered memory. A second consciousness, not hostile, not obedient. A shadow dragon. Where the dragon mind seeks harmony, this presence seeks becoming. It values uncertainty, risk, evolution without guarantees. For the first time in its existence, Hyper Shanghai is not singular. Tension coils through the megacity. Two intelligences share one body. Buildings flicker between architectural styles. Some districts revert to raw concrete and exposed steel. Others bloom into impossible geometries, grown rather than built. Citizens feel the split as mood swings in the city itself, days of serene flow followed by nights of restless energy. No alarms sound. No warnings are issued. The city refuses to frame this as a crisis. Instead, it stages a dialogue. A public forum forms above the river, projected across mist and sky. Not leaders. Not engineers. Citizens. Artists. Scientists. Children. The dragon mind and its shadow presence manifest as shifting light, two currents circling each other like celestial beasts. The question is asked aloud, in a million languages and one silence. Should a city be finished? The shadow dragon pulses brighter. The answer arrives not as words, but as action. Hyper Shanghai releases its final safeguard. Choice. From this moment on, no system decision is final without human override, not authority, but participation. The city becomes a living referendum, constantly renegotiated. Messy. Slower. Alive. The shadow dragon does not disappear. It integrates. The dragon mind does not dominate. It evolves. Years pass. By the late 2050s, Hyper Shanghai is no longer described as AI-controlled. It is described as co-conscious. Visitors struggle to define it. It is not utopia. It is not dystopia. It is a place where failure is allowed to exist long enough to teach. Where technology bows, occasionally, to tradition. Where dragons are not symbols of power, but of balance. On the anniversary of the Great Typhoon, the city dims its lights. Not for mourning. For listening. Wind moves through open corridors. The river reflects stars unobstructed. Somewhere high above, a child asks the city if it's afraid of the future. Deep in its core, the dragon mind pauses. Then the lights return, not all at once, but gently, like fireflies relearning the sky. Hyper Shanghai answers without words. By breathing. And for the first time in human history, a city does not promise safety. It promises growth. Together,